So we're live now. We've still got a few minutes just so everyone can get sorted. So stick around, we're live now, so just FYI.
Yeah.
So this is on Skype or webinar?
No, that's straight out into a web, so you can say hello to people in Perth.
Okay.
And wherever else. So that's why we said to be a little careful. What's it?
Yeah.
So we're live now.
Yep.
I actually come here because it's actually live.
Wow.
It's actually transmitting live, so be careful what you say.
So, yeah, but that'd be wondering.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, because you've got to be when you represent something. Have you got
I've had all the left, gathered all the information, and then because it was.
Oh, you know, have you got the tenancy agreements? They must be off.
Oh, they don't have.
No, they must be.
Oh, yeah?
No, nothing.
Good.
I haven't got that.
How it's coming in?
And then it was supposed to.
I'm done. I was here before.
And
Andrew.
I'll give you a city card.
I'm from
Yes.
Morocco,
Yeah.
but I was commercially with David Seven.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, and Westall.
Yeah, you have to register. So you
David coming along? I don't think so. He didn't mention that he's.
He probably knows all about this.
Oh yeah, he must agree with my baby.
Very experienced. I think.
Oh, he is one of his quite.
Yeah, I think you might.
You were both from Melbourne.
Business over there.
Pretty good. It's a very busy office.
Is it?
So I gave him a call.
It's the, it's actually in terms of in terms of over the platforms proceeding. It's the third largest office in the world.
Mind you, Albany is a growing place. I used to go to Massey University 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And at that time, it was only Celtics and the Albany University. That's about it. Nothing else. And there was a motel behind the Celtics.
That's right. Yeah, it was much older, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's still there. Yeah. A whole lot of buildings around there now. Just package it
I wanted an idea as well. I know jumping policy, remember that? What are you wearing?
My glasses.
Japers. That is definitely a statement, that's for sure.
Well, there you go.
How you going, Bruce? I like our orange.
Andrew, isn't it? Yeah. How are you?
Oh, he was actually.
Yeah.
Right, I'm Rob. Which office did you comment on? Henderson. Yeah, good on you. Oh, warm in here. We met before when we were Rob. John. You learned. I was. Just a reminder for those who just come in, we're actually already live online, so. That's yeah. Good to see you.
Oh, I was only here 3 months.
So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to sit in that room here and just watch online. But I'll be right back.
Chunky, that's right. Right, with a B. Yes.
Oh, up to you. Up to you. Is it? Oh, sure. Did you come over there? Oh, you should have told me. You were going to go somewhere. Gotta give me a look. That's right.
Hello.
You found it?
No, it's coming already. That's great. Ooh. No idea.
Well, good afternoon and welcome along to session number 1 of our spring series training session. Over the course of 4 weeks, we'll be running these sessions weekly. The first one today is myself running with prospecting and planning for success and how to actually create success and a presence in a location. Next week we'll have our in-house legal counsel for Harcourts Group New Zealand, Elizabeth Rabier, who's sitting here today with us, and she'll be covering our lease terms and terminology and some technical issues with leases. In week 3 we've got the CEO for NAI Harcourts Australasia over here, Richard Leary, and he will be doing a session on presentations, winning the business. And in week 4 we're very privileged to have Hayden Duncan, the CEO of Harcourts Group New Zealand, running a session on how to run a campaign. So the whole process is designed to take you from creating a presence in an area to getting the listing to running the campaign, getting a property sold. Now we call it the spring series partly because it's the time of year, I guess, and the change of seasons. But we'd also like to think that it's about using it being a springboard for success. So we hope you gain some information out of this. And the real value in these sessions is you go away from here hopefully learning some new information, but more importantly, you're reminded of things that you already know and probably things that you haven't been doing for a while, you've forgotten about. So let's get underway, and hopefully it'll run for about an hour, and you'll go away with some new ideas and determination to implement for success. The things we're actually going to cover in this session is establishing a presence in your market, whatever your market might be. Becoming the go-to person, so gaining some knowledge and information. So in your location, you are the first port of call for people in your area. To do that, how you go about gathering information, what information you need to gather, and creating ongoing success. Now, this applies whether you are new to the business or whether you're experienced. Either way, we hope you go away with that information today and a determination to succeed. Why are we doing this? I guess it's about everything we do in this business, and certainly from a corporate level, what we're doing. How to make more money, and that's what you guys are here for. Like I said, everything we do, and all these training sessions we put together, the sell meetings we do around the country, the Key Assets magazine, they're all designed for you to make more money.
Notes after the session?
No, and I can send you through the PowerPoint. I can send you through some notes later on afterwards.
That's fine.
But I should have said at the beginning, if you hold your questions to the end, because the people on the other end of the camera can't ask the questions, but we will have a question and answer session at the end. Okay, so now we've got some questions that I think that it's worth asking. And this is one that, and it's just a habit of success in this business, or a reaction to success. For the experienced people, who here is prepared to admit, are they still doing the things they originally did to be successful when they started? Or who isn't doing the things that they really started? Got some hands going up, some honest people, because we all do it. It's just sometimes it's a habit. It's actually success makes us so busy that we concentrate on the things that are in front of us here and now, and we don't do the things that we need to do to plan for tomorrow when it might be not so busy. And we move on from what we first started doing, and forget about the cold calling, the prospecting, the walking the streets. One thing is, do you drive past a property and see 3 or 4 signs on it and think I won't bother stopping? And again, that's generally a result of being successful in your business, that you think I'm not going to bother stopping. Maybe it's too small a property, a little 100-metre industrial unit. You think that's not worth my time anymore because it's too small a fee. But ask yourself the question as you drive past that property: what if that person owns 50 of that same one, or they might own one small little unit, but they might own a big portfolio? And there might be agents who think, I can't be bothered with that property, but maybe the person owns a lot that they can actually build a relationship to make a successful business. I think in the real estate business, I like to think of it, or like in any business, and that's what I think you've got to remember, is that you're actually running your own business. You're running it under a NAI Harcourts umbrella. I was part of the Harcourts group, but it's actually your business, so it's your activities that are going to get you those results. And in any sort of business, I'd liken it to being like a tree. It's either growing or it's dying. It's never standing still. You're improving or you're going backwards, and are you going forwards or are you going backwards? So which are you? An indication of that's how's your year doing. If you're doing the same level as what you did last year, if your current year is at the same level as last year, you're going backwards. We're in a strong market. Things are moving on. Inflation's, and we've got low inflation, but we've got high activity. The majority of agents would be expecting that their earnings would be increasing this year over last year. If you're doing the same level that you did last year, then you're actually falling behind. And it comes back to, are you ignoring opportunities again? Are you driving past properties that you should be stopping and talking to the owner? Now, everybody's going to have a different market, and whether you're in Auckland, whether you're in Christchurch, whether you're in Sydney, you're going to be in your own market. And it's really important to determine what your market is, and real estate is an area that we specialise in. And a lot of people it will be for geographic location. So you might be working in an area specifically around your office. You might be working in a different location. You might be working in a price range. You might say my specialty is under $300,000, or your specialty might be $1 million to $2 million, or it could be a size. You could be saying I deal in up to 200 square metre properties, or I deal in 1,000 square metres and above. It could be different sort of property. You might specialise in industrial. It could be office. It could be retail, or it could be bare land. But generally, you tend to have a specialisation in one area that you become an expert in. If you're a business broker, what business type are you doing? It'll fall into categories. Are you into hospitality, cafes, food, manufacturing, service, or retail? Again, you're still wanting to find out what area you want to work in, and some people have a natural affinity to some sorts of property and businesses over others. So the goal of working in an area or a specialty in a market is that you want to be the dominant player in that market. You want to be the person that people ring first. Now, you might have a couple of signs out and think I'm doing okay. So I thought I'd give you an example of what, what does it look like to be to dominate a market? Well, I think it kind of looks like this. This is Clarke. If you type Clarke into prime commercial, you come up with 48 current listings. 38 of them are NAI Harcourts. You drive down the main street of Clarke and you see NAI Harcourt signs everywhere. That's market domination, and that's actually what you want to achieve. Because guess who gets the phone calls on the properties? Other owners look at that and say, that's the person I've got to phone. Penetration, but Clarke is a really good example, and that's what I. So I'm not singling him out and saying we don't do that in other places, but it was just an easy one to pick up. Okay, so how do we get to that point? How do we get to dominate our market? And I think we've got to go back to the beginning and say we've actually got to come with a plan, because it doesn't matter where you are at the moment, you've got to figure out how you're going to get to where you're going. So I'd start off and say we'll set some goals. And your goals can be a whole lot of different things. It might be I want a better car, I want a holiday, I want a bigger boat, you know, I want to put my kids through a certain school, or I want to achieve a certain income level. But you know, to actually write down specific goals of what you want to achieve, and that can be in a long term, short term. That's really important. Have a goal, written goals. If you can put it into a business plan, that's a good way to start. And then once you've got your goals, then you've actually got to determine what your steps are going to be and how you're going to get there. Because it's all right to say, it's one thing to say, I want to earn $1 million a year. Great goal, great, be a great achievement. But then you can't actually just sit back and say, well, I want to earn $1 million a year and the universe is going to take care of it. You actually have to have a specific plan of steps that you're going to take along the way to get there. Make the steps realistic. We break our business plans down into quarters, so they run for 3 months. Now, and when I say a realistic step and what you can actually achieve, it's not to make it easy. You should be stretching yourself. But if you earn $30,000 in the last 3 months, then maybe a good target for the next 3 months is $50,000. If you said, I'm going to earn $500 in the next 3 months, and you've come from 30,000, that's going to be a bit of a challenge. So it's pretty unrealistic. But if you make it a realistic goal that you can actually set out on a plan to achieve, then you've got a far better chance of achieving it. And this is really important. Involve your manager in your business plan. We might be committing them to a whole lot of work with you over the next few weeks, and I'm sure because they're there to help you actually succeed, they'll be prepared to spend the time. But you've actually got to be accountable to somebody. You've got to be accountable to yourself firstly, but you want somebody checking up on you to make sure you're actually doing those, taking those steps. And a business plan is actually like a living, breathing entity. So as you go through and cross off your tasks, then if it's a 3-month plan and you've got through everything in 2 months, don't think, great, I can have a month off now. You actually just want to keep adding to it. You want to keep improving it, and if you've reached your goals, and raise them. Because you'll be amazed when you actually look through and see what you've crossed off. Just like if you, as a list of jobs to do, you'll be amazed at how much you've actually achieved in that time. Now, something that I think is a great way to go back to create a presence in the market is to go out and get a listing a day for a month. Now, immediately you think, gosh, that's going to be pretty hard. But I'm not talking about an auction a day. I mean, that'd be fantastic if at the end of the month, you ended up with 20 auctions. But it strikes me that it's relatively easy in most markets to go out and get a lease listing. If you drive around an area, you'll find there's an awful lot of signs, and I dare say there's an awful lot without our sign on it, of properties that are available that you could walk in and get a lease listing on. Because every time you see a sign on some signs outside a property for lease, the owner's got a problem. He's actually saying, come in and help me. I've got a problem, I want it solved. So if you could go and do that for a month, imagine if you had 20 new signs out after the end of a month, imagine what your specialisation in the market area would be. Imagine if everyone in your office did the same thing. So we're talking about a plan that in a month's time you could actually transform your area, because suddenly you've got market presence. The easiest way to get market presence is signage, because even though online is a great tool, people driving around an area, looking at locations, that's the easiest way to get a market presence, and those people driving around will actually pick up the phone and ring you. So if you're driving around in an area and there's 50 NAI hardcourt signs around you, straight away it's going to accelerate your business, and it's going to accelerate everybody's business in our brand. Okay, so let's concentrate on a geographic location. If you're working in a location, I think if you're working in a specific location, an area, you need to be in that area every day, because you need to see what's going on. You need to see if some competitors have put up a sign. You need to see changes in the area. It's no good going there once every 2 weeks and then suddenly seeing a whole lot of changes. Somebody's got a sign up, somebody's moving, a business is closed down. You need to be on top of that straight away, because you need to become an expert in your area. Again, everything that happens in your area, and I don't just even mean the businesses. Local community news. If you can be involved in a community organisation in your area and make those contacts, you'll find out more knowledge. And the more knowledge you have, not just about what's happening in real estate, but actually happening in the community, is going to make you more valuable to people in that community. You need to know who owns what property. So in an area that I worked in, there was a number of owners who might have owned, I think 5 or 6 owners who owned 5 or 6 properties in a small area. And why it's important to know those is that they are what we would call collectors. They're investors who collect properties, and often in a specific location. So as soon as you come across an opportunity that a property might be coming on the market, they are a great person to ring first, because they are a likely buyer. So not only do you need to know the property, you actually need to know what sort of businesses are in the area, and you need to know as much about those businesses. So I guess what I'm saying overall is you actually need to become an expert in that area. Who's doing what, who owns what, and what's happening. And if you do all that, you can be the first person they contact when they need help. And that help might be they want to buy a building, they want to sell a building, they've got a tenant moving out, and they've got a vacancy they want filled. All of these steps here and everything I've talked about so far is actually about becoming an expert in your location. I see from time to time, as opposed to people who work in a location or a specific segment of the market, people who chase deals, and they'll chase the money. Works for some people, but doesn't work for everybody. So if you have somebody who wants to buy, they don't care where they buy, you might follow them around to try and find them the right property to get the deal. It's a very risky strategy, because you might find them the property, but you don't create that presence of ongoing business, and it's about creating ongoing success. I say it works for some people, and some people are very proficient at it, but it's far easier to work a specific area and build a profile in that area. I'll just quickly talk here about the agency types, and these are good lines to use when you're out talking to people in the street. A general agency, everybody, a common line that people will use is that a general agency, no one cares about it. In reality, in my opinion, in the general agency, the agent is working to get a deal done so they get paid. A sole agency, the agent's actually working to get the best deal because they know they're going to get paid. And I think that's quite a good way to portray to a vendor that when you're taking on a sole agency, you care about them more than you care about you. And when you're out talking to people, if the only agency you can get in is a general agency, and I'm talking more to the new people here, take the general agency and give them great service and work on trying to convert it to a sole agency, because most people that have got the general agents won't look after the vendors. Information gathering. Where do you get the information? Property Guru, or the CoreLogic product, I think, is a great source of information. It's one I've used for a long time. I know there's various products around, and certainly over in Australia there's a variety as well. But it's a great source for owner details. It'll also tell you, you can look up previous sales. And again, as part of your knowledge, when you're looking at a property, you want to actually understand the history of that property. So if you look on the property previous sales, you might actually see that it's been transferred basically from the same owners to themselves. So they probably done a transaction into a family trust. And it'll also give you the price details and the previous owner details. So and that'll give you a clue to what's going on, the property's history over a period of time, maybe even its usage. Again, all this stuff is just more information that you can compile into a database and use to your benefit. Company office. If a property is owned by a company, on the title, look on the company's office. It'll give you all the information of the company. It'll give you the directors and the shareholders. You can also work out if it's an owner-occupier. If you haven't gone in and talked to the people, quite often the same directors will be the same names on the title, and you know that's an owner-occupier. So that might change your approach of how you're actually going to deal with the people when you approach them. Go and knock on doors and talk to occupiers of the buildings. You know, real estate is such a hot topic wherever you go that people want to talk about property. You go knock on a door, they might be busy, but chances are they'll be happy to talk to you at some stage. It's just like if you go to a party or an event and people ask what you do and you say you're in real estate, you know you're going to be talking to them for the rest of the night. There's times when I've actually, at some places I've been tempted to say I'm an IRD tax inspector, so no one talks to me. But you know, real estate is a hot topic in a whole lot of subjects, and I'll probably want to talk about the residential market. So if you've got some understanding of the residential market, even though you're in commercial, you know, it's a good opportunity to make that connection. Read the local papers, follow the news as well. You know, it's again, you might find things about businesses in your area or occupiers in your area that are front of mind. You know, might be a company that's involved in a project, or they've been bought out by or done a merger or something like that. Again, it's just information all to put in, and you never know how useful that information is going to be. Building relationships. The key to success in commercial real estate is actually building long-term relationships. And I can't stress how important this is. When I was thinking about what we were going to put in this session, I was thinking about a specific property that in an area that I worked that had 8 industrial units in it, and they're all about 100 square metres, and over about a 16-year period, I sold 6 of those 8 units. Now that was pretty good, but what was even more impressive, that I sold a number of them multiple times. Units A and B I never sold. Unit B is still owned by the original owner. That's had it for about 24 years. But out of that complex, I did several leases, and I did 15 sales. And I did that from actually keeping those relationships going with the original owner of them, who I sold them to, and then I kept in touch with the ongoing owners, and I made sure that I was front of mind. If they wanted to do something with those units, they talked to me. You know, it was like the gift that just kept giving. You know, 15 sales out of an 8-unit complex over a period of time was fantastic. And if I probably wasn't in this role now, I'd still be talking to those people about continuing that business relationship. And that came about because of building trust and respect with those owners. And it doesn't happen overnight, but it's really, really important. And And at that point, it's not about being a salesperson. It's about being someone who cares about them, and how we can add value to the business and what they do. So I'd go and talk to them not about selling their property, but I'd go and talk to them about their business and what was happening in the market. And I'd make an effort to go and see them every few months. And over a period of time, you build that rapport with people. And I know there's people here who you could ring up that have been in the business for a long time, who built the respect with those people, and they could ring them up and say, ring somebody up, a client, and say, hey, I've got an opportunity for a property you should come and have a look at. And it wouldn't matter whether, you know, on some of those clients, whether it was a $200,000 property or a $20 million property, those clients, from the respect they built up with that agent, would go and have a look at it and quite often do a deal. So you've got to take a very long-term view of some of those things. You might not do a deal or make any money out of those contacts for several years, but don't give up on them. You just keep contact with them, keep building that relationship, build that trust and respect, and you'll find one day it'll pay off in a big way. Okay, what's our role? Might sound a bit grandiose for some people, but I think what we do is solve problems and fulfill dreams. And you wouldn't actually relate that to commercial property in most cases. But a vacant building's a problem. I don't care who you are. If you've got it as an investment, or you're an owner-occupier and you've closed your business down, if your building is vacant, it's a problem. So you want it filled. So what do? We find a tenant for it, or maybe we sell it. Whatever we do, we actually solve the problem. Is a commercial property a dream? Well, if you're an investor and you're looking to build a portfolio for your retirement, yes, and get a passive income off it, yes, that's your dream. If you're an owner-occupier who wants somebody to put your business into, that's your goal, that's your dream, to actually buy that building. So I think we're in a great business. So, you know, we get to help them achieve their dreams and solve their problems. But our role is also about adding value. We have to be seen to be adding value in what we do, and by that, we have to obtain a better result for our owners than what they would do on their own. I had a very big developer say to me once, good agents deserve good fees. Good owners and those developers like that will actually see the value in what we do, and they recognise that because we actually do add something. And we come back to the key to that is knowledge. Everything you've learnt on the way through, of learning an area, learning who is likely to go into a property, what the businesses do in that location, who owns the properties in there. That's knowledge that you built up over a period of time, and that's where we add our value. That's where we earn our money. Commission. What we're here for. We go back to the beginning again. How do we make more money? Naturally, everybody wants to earn as much as they can. That's why we come to work every day in most cases. But I believe focusing on the commission is the easiest way to have a really short career in this business. We're not the important part of a transaction. We're the least important part. But you know what? We actually get paid the most. We get paid more than the valuer who does the valuation. We get paid more than the person who arranges the mortgage. We get paid more than the solicitor who does the conveyancing. Elizabeth's sitting there nodding. Here's the solicitor. We get paid more than an accountant that might be involved in the due diligence. So we've got to be as professional as we can, and we've got to make it as easy as we can for everybody else. But often I see agents who focus on what's in it for them. They're worried about their commission. The commission is the least of the worries. We get paid as a result of doing a great job. So that's what you've got to focus on. We've actually got to focus on doing a fantastic job, because you do a fantastic job, and it will lead to more opportunities. So the commission is a result of what we do, and I come back again to what I started with in the beginning, talking about we're running a business here. and as individuals you're running a business, you've got to care about your business and do all the other things right, and your business will grow. Okay, I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about motivation and inspiration, and there is a big difference. Now I see people will say, I got asked once, how could I be motivated to achieve more? I'd had a great year. The question was that, how do we motivate you to achieve, have another great year? And my answer was, you can't motivate me to do anything. I have to motivate myself. People make the mistake that your manager can motivate you, that external influences can motivate you. But external influences can only inspire you. You can actually only look at something and say, that's going to help me achieve more. Motivation actually comes from within. And I'll share something with you I don't share with many people, and that's my inspiration. My mother as a teenager contracted rheumatoid arthritis. And rheumatoid arthritis is about the worst arthritis you can get. So over the years, her health really suffered. Her fingers became twisted and distorted, so she could hardly hold things. She had to have the bones taken out of her toes. It was so difficult for her. But no matter how bad she felt, and as a solo mother from when I was very young, no matter how bad she felt, and how bad her health problems were, she still got up and went to work every day until she retired in her 60s. So I would, whenever I think that things are too hard, that gosh, I'm not making any sales, or this problem is, seems beyond me, I'd actually think about what she had to face. And I think if she could do that, then how easy have I got it? So that became my inspiration for actually achieving. And I think you have to find your own inspiration of what is going to make you actually successful. And then I actually internalize that and say, if she could do that, what can I achieve? And everybody's story is different. One of the things that people come to me often and say, the market's bad. They're making excuses. I didn't miss out on this listing because somebody cut their fees. Actually, that's really just an excuse. Sure, we might get into a competitive environment with fees, but the reality is probably we weren't good enough. And I'm not into hearing excuses. We've got to be better. I hear people say the market's really bad. I can't make any sales because it's bad. I'll believe that when nothing in an area goes on the market for sale. If there's 0 properties for sale and there's absolutely no buyers for anything, you could say the market's bad. But if there are properties for sale in the area and we don't have them, we're not good enough, and we need to be better. Sometimes we look at those things and go, gosh, we've got all these problems. We're not making sales, we're not making money, it's too tough out there. And again, I think of another story. My wife and I owned a business for a while, and we had a 24-year-old woman working for us with an 8-year-old son. And she was fantastic at what she did. She just got on without complaint. And one day she came and said, very upset, and said, I have to leave early. And we said, what's the matter? Not that she had to leave early, we didn't care about that, but she was very upset. And she said, my 8-year-old son's got leukemia, been diagnosed with leukemia, and I have to go to the hospital. And I thought, that's a problem. We look and go, at the time our business was really affected by the GFC, and we think we were losing money, and we think we had problems. That's a problem. Our financial situation was an inconvenience. So I look around, and when people say to me the market's bad, I can't make any sales or things like that, I actually look at a lot of those things as excuses and say we're just not good enough and we've got to be better. So while those are stories that you probably have situations like that yourself that you can actually think of, if you actually look at those situations and think, how can I turn those to my advantage? How can I look at someone else's situation and think, actually, I'm bloody lucky with what I do? The opportunities in front of me are there, and I've just got to take advantage of them. Okay, so I have a belief that success is a choice. Decide our path we take and our fate we take, and we can decide to be a success or not. It's really easy to choose to be a success, and it's really easy to choose not to be a success. If we think we can, we can. If we think we can't, you're probably right, we can't. You know, I in the cell meetings as I went around the country, I said to people, what's the difference between someone who earns $50,000 a year and someone who earns $500,000 a year? And the difference is that those people who earn $500,000 a year are a little bit smarter and they work a little bit harder. And I thought I'd break it down into some into a few figures, because there's some people who couldn't make it along to our sessions. And this is pretty cool. Oops. Great technology, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you know how to drive it. So I'll give an example, and this is about what I think about as the choice of success. We'll start off and let's say in a year you're probably going to work 10 months. I think that'd be a reasonable time frame of a work period for us, because by the time you take off, you know, between Christmas and January and a couple of weeks off during the year, you're not going to work for 12 months of the year. So let's say we're going to work for 10 months of the year. I'll just come over this side so the camera can capture it. Yeah. So I think a reasonable expectation for most people would to do 4 listing presentations a month. Would you agree with that, Rob? Yeah. Okay. So 4 listing presentations a month, and let's say we've got a 25% success rate. Especially when you're starting out, I think that would be reasonable. That gives you one listing a month, and we're going to assume that you list and sell every property that you list. If we take an average sale price of $300K, at 4%, say 4% commission, that's $12,000. And at 50% split between the office and the consultant, 6,000 commission to the agent. I think that's a pretty fair sort of number to work on. So 10 months of the year, $60,000 income. What if we change some of those numbers? And I'm not talking about working ridiculously hard. Let's change that to 8. In fact, let's try a fancy. Let's double the effort and put in 8 listing presentations a month, 2 a week. And as we're doing more, we're getting more professional at it. So we'll increase the success rate to 50. So suddenly we've gone from 1 listing a month to 4. Haven't had to work that much harder. Still having to do only doing double the effort on the presentations, and 1 listing presentation a month isn't much. But we're going to sell them all. So now we're doing 4 times the income at $260,000 a year. Yet we haven't worked hard. And when I go back and say about our choice, the choice is a success. You can choose what level you're going to do. How many presentations you're going to do a month. How much effort are you going to put in. One of the core values of Harcourt's group in NAI Harcourts is fun and laughter. Trust me when I say you can have more fun and laughter if you're earning 240,000 a year than you can 60,000. But all of us have got that choice to make, and all of us have the opportunity to achieve that as well. Pretty cool tool, isn't it? So it comes to making the most of it's about making the most of opportunities. And if you go back over the slides and the information we've already put up, and you look at, would you have more success making more of those opportunities if you didn't drive past all those properties that got multiple signs on it, if you actually spent more time in your area? Going back to the business plan, maybe some of the things you could put in a business plan of steps would be to go and walk the streets for a couple of hours each week. Maybe get a telemarketer and make some phone calls 2 or 3 times a week for a couple of hours. Learning more about the people in your area. Whatever you choose to do, you just need to do it consistently, because I think, again, going back to where I started with the secret to success, is that as you become more successful and busier in your day-to-day activities, you actually forget to do those things that you started off doing. You stop doing the prospecting, you stop making the phone calls. Taking a step further, that information that you've gathered all the way along the line, you need to set up a database in H1. If you haven't got a database in there, you should have. And if you don't know how to use H1, you sign up on the tech courses and you come along and you learn how to use it, because it's a fantastic tool. For those who haven't used H1 properly and set up your databases, you can subscribe your clients or your contacts to publications. You can choose what publications they get, and as soon as they're released by our communications person, they are automatically sent off to your clients. You don't have to do any more, you just keep in touch with them. You also need to just keep in touch, like I said, with those 8 units, or the 6 ones that I'd sold. I would regularly go and visit them. Probably every few months I'd call in and say hello, and there wasn't necessarily everybody was there, but because of that environment, they talked to one another. So I became known in that area. So I don't think another agent had sold one of those units in years. They didn't get the opportunity because I didn't let them. I made sure that I was front of mind. So all those things that we've covered here so far is just about an idea of how you actually can create some dominance in an area, how you create that ongoing success. The core values of Harcourts and NAI Harcourts are actually covered in some of those as well, because when I go back to talk about the commission, focusing on doing a great job rather than what's in it for us, is about putting people first. Going and knocking on doors and making those phone calls is about being courageous. What if the people say no? Oh gosh, they say no. We get paid well to do a great job, and that's what we've got to focus on doing. Cool. We seem to have got through it faster. So, is there anyone here who's got some questions they want to fire away? Any ideas or anything anybody wants to add? Okay. Well, I think next week we'll look forward to Elizabeth's presentation. I'm excited to see some of the things on there. I've already suggested to her that it'll be really interesting to understand the difference between make good and fair wear and tear on a lease. There's some grey areas that as real estate people, we have our own interpretation. But from a legal perspective, that'll be really interesting. So I'm really looking forward to that. So I think at that point we didn't take as long as we expected. I appreciate your time, but if there's no questions, we'll wind it up there. And thank you all very much. I think exactly. Next time we need the aircon down a bit cooler then.